Hey, happy Father's Day, everyone. I'm here today to talk about axe throwing, of all things. I don't know what about Father's Day inspired me to talk about something like this. I think it had to do, actually, when I think about it, it had to do with the fact that I read an article today when I was going through my morning paper, and I read this article about this guy who he was with a bunch of guys, a bunch of friends. They were at the cottage. They were drinking some beer, sitting around the campfire, and somebody picked up an axe and threw it, and everybody just went silent because you never know what could happen when people start chucking axes around. But then after that little moment of quiet, everybody sort of started thinking, "Hey, that looked pretty cool," and so they set up a little target and they I guess they came up with their own little safety protocols because when you've got axes flying through the air, there's an argument to be made that it's not the safest environment in the world. Nevertheless, they went about building the rest of their night around this axe throwing event. And it got to the point where it was like every weekend, they didn't even have to go to the cottage anymore. Everybody piled over to this guy's backyard where he had set up a little target area in his backyard. And it got to the point where like he organized a league and people were coming over there every single weekend. It even expanded into his neighbor's yard. That's how much this took off. I think one night they even rented a DJ, and and there was a beer rep there. And there's another thing too. You got axes flying through the air and people drinking beer. Those two things together may not be the safest of combinations, but anyways, I don't want to wreck the story. The guy had such a successful time in his backyard that he went into business doing this. So what he did was he set up his own little shop outside of his backyard in a bigger location. And while he had some growing pains here and there, just like any small business would, now all of a sudden he's doing quite well for himself, and this is what he does for a living, and I think that's good on you. The first time I ever had an axe throwing topic come up in my presence was my son one time was telling me that he and a bunch of his buddies had, it was a similar circumstance. They get together often and they usually have some sort of theme upon which to build their weekend away. I don't know what the theme was, but somehow, somewhere, axe throwing became part of the mix. And he was telling me about how much satisfaction he got because there's this one guy, one friend that he has, who is really, really solid at just about everything that the guy touches. He turns to gold. It was one of those types, right? And on top of that, with all this amazing skill, he's got a competitive aspect to him that's top of the mountain. And so, anyways, they get into this little game of hurling axes and hatchets around. And my son was telling me about how it went down to just the two of them, he and this guy. And at the end of it all, my son came away with the honors. And it just, I can picture the guy because I know him really well. I can picture the other fellow and how angry he would have been. But that's the competitive juices, right, that flow within us. And it gave that individual some motivation to come back next year or whenever the next event is, and come back stronger and better prepared to claim the prize. But also it gives my own son something like a moment in time to point to where he said, hey, you know what? I beat this guy throwing axes. I am, well, until we do this some other time, I am the axe throwing champion of the entire peer group. So axe throwing, well, it's something simple to do. I mean, you need an axe and you need a target, and the target can't be a human target. It should be a stationary thing. You need to have some sort of solid backing because axes have some heft to them. We're not talking about great big Viking things or medieval things. We're talking more in the line of hatchets. You can buy these axe throwing games or kits actually online or at Walmart or on Amazon or wherever fine axes are sold. And they're not the same as an actual axe, where it's more of a safe version of the same. I don't know if it has the same value satisfaction wise as actually having an axe in your hand and doing one of those two-hander, you know, one of those two-hander things that just seem very satisfying, especially if you're thinking about somebody in particular as your target, somebody who you think about relatively unfavorably. I've never thrown an axe or a hatchet in my life. I may have been tempted to when using one in the backyard for whatever I might have been using it for, because nothing, no project ever goes as smoothly as you want it to. And so I can see myself having an axe or a hatchet in my hand and trying to do something out there and it not going particularly well, causing me to have a moment of immaturity and perhaps like firing the thing at a tree or firing the thing at the ground or something like that. But certainly no organized axe throwing as part of my existence. And I don't think, honestly, I don't think that's going to change. From what I understand, axe throwing is is an activity that's actually taking off. I don't know how expensive it is, but I know you can go into Ottawa and there's places where you can chuck some steel at some targets. And I noticed that when I was doing a little bit of research for this piece, I saw more and more the presence of girls and women throwing axes, which cannot be the most comforting feeling for some of us men out there, particularly the ones that have this tendency to piss off their women folk. And so if you see your girlfriend or your wife rummaging around in the storage shed, a place where you don't normally see her, it might be time for you to reconsider all those sharp knives and instruments and things that you have in the kitchen. You might want to get those out of the house. It's catching on like gangbusters from what I understand. Good, clean Canadian fun. It harkens back to our Viking roots, although not very many of us have Viking roots, but all of us have medieval roots. And so, if you shake the family tree enough somewhere, someplace, something's going to fall out of there. Some descendant of ours that actually had an axe and actually threw it, probably, hopefully at game. And not in another human being. But we know that warfare back in the glory days of medieval times did center around heavy, sharp things such as axes, that you could cave in a guy's head with. And that's just the way that it was. As I said, I have no plans to be involved in the activity or the sport myself, although it does have some entertainment value. I have to give you that. I think where I would probably get more juice out of this activity is in the area of targets. Now you can make your own targets, and there's little template sets that you can buy where you can. It's almost like a little fabric kit or sewing kit or that kind of thing, where it's got the little, you put it on a block of wood and you trace and you cut and you do those sorts of things, and then the next thing you know, you've got yourself an axe target. But that is. That's limiting the possibilities here because, I don't know how cathartic? No, it's cathartic. I don't know how therapeutic it would be to throw an axe. Again, if you have a particular target in mind, a particular individual who you've got a hate on for, I suppose it adds a little extra oomph to the activity. But why not come up with, target packages that include people that you don't like? Like, for example, what if you were to create a target and you somehow managed to superimpose Donald Trump upon the target? That would probably be a popular one, especially here in Canada. Another one you might consider is Elon Musk. I mean, if you're going to go for Trump, you got to go for the Musker as well. And again, not the most popular guy here north of the 49th parallel. So there's some money to be made for anyone who wants to come up with an axe throwing target that features the likenesses or the caricatures of famous yet, I'm just going to say repugnant people that you might want to throw an axe at and not face like 20 or 30 years in prison. Anyways, I wanted to keep this short and sweet. I don't know if I've succeeded in that, but it's about axe throwing, and it's something that's really starting to gather some momentum as a thing to do. It is obviously not a male-centered activity because more and more women are taking part in it, and also more and more children as well. What better way to be a father and to take care or to come up with the security of your entire family? What better idea than to teach them how to throw an axe?